Record on this. All right. I'm going to do this rant facing you guys, I think. All right. So what we're going to talk about in this rant is the best topic of all, which is how much bullshit is follow-up. Follow-up. Who here has ever had to do follow-up? Put a Y in the chat. All right, death to follow-up. Yes, I agree with that, Lee. Who here likes follow-up? Put a Y in the chat if you actually like doing follow-up. Fuck no. Yes, exactly. Hated it. Yep. Christian hates it. Nope. All right, final question. Put a Y in the chat if you think follow-up is something that you absolutely need to do, or the alternative is it is something that you need to do because you are not executing something further upstream. Put a Y in the chat if you think that even if you did everything perfect in the call, you would still need to be the one chasing up with someone and sending messages and sending emails to see if they're now ready to go. They should chase you. Lee says you're not executing something. Correct. So in this rant, we're going to talk about the real reason that you do need to follow up and the golden opportunity if you fix the things that I'm going to share with you that will prevent you needing to do follow-up, and it is actually going to mean that you do a better job in your one call close. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's think about this very simply. On a call, you are meeting a complete stranger. You may have had a couple of back and forth text messages or emails to confirm, hey, are you ready for the call? They may have a little bit of information about the brand, the business owner, but as far as you and the prospect, you're on first meeting terms. You've never met this person before. They have never met you before. And so when we talk about things like first impressions, and people say, oh, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Whilst that is a lovely thing that would be amazing if everybody in the world didn't judge a book by its cover, the reality is people do judge a book by its cover. To take that even further, we're not talking about meeting somebody for a couple of minutes. We're talking about the impression that somebody has of you for an hour. That is a pretty long period of time for them to get their first impression, so their gut reaction, do I like this person? Do I trust this person? Is this person an expert? We're going to break all those things down in a minute. But beyond first impressions, to what extent, put in the chat, you can do it on a scale of 1 to 10 if you want, you can do a yes or a no, however you want to answer. To what extent do you think you have enough data on someone after an hour of spending time talking to them in a one-on-one environment? So not an hour at a party and you're kind of in a group and you're having a chit chat, but if you sat down, imagine a podcast on YouTube and how intimate that setting is. You sit down with someone for an entire hour, scale of 1 to 10, as far as do you want to have another conversation with that person? Where would you put the level of clarity that you have of that person? 10 is, you know what, I've probably got everything I need after an hour to know, should I have another chat with this person or should I not? 0 being, no, I absolutely should give them another hour of my time regardless. 9.9, 10, 10, 10, 10. Yeah, so we've got a clear, definitive pattern here, guys. You are spending an hour with someone. So what do you need to accomplish during that hour? Do you need to accomplish that they buy on the first call? No. Whilst that is beneficial most of the time for the prospect, and it's definitely a wonderful thing for you if you close the deal and you collect your commissions on one call, that is not the aim. So what is the aim? What should you actually be aiming to accomplish? Don't put anything in the chat yet. This is a rhetorical question. What should you actually be aiming to do during that hour of your time? And what should you be aiming to do during that hour of your time that is going to mean that the perspective or perception that the prospect has of you is one which is either going to have the highest probability of a one call close, or if for some reason there is logistical roadblocks in the way, that you are not going to need to be the one chasing them down. So think about that for a moment. What are some of those things? And then now you can pop them in the chat. What are some of those things that you need to accomplish, not to close the deal, but to make sure that the perception that the prospect has of you is one that's going to be highly likely to close the deal or remove the need for you to do follow-up? What are some of those things, guys? What do you need to accomplish? Anybody putting anything in the chat? I can't see anything. Is it frozen? Oh, there you go. Make them feel understood. Get someone into a buying mindset. Get clear on the problem. Understand their burning problem. Make sure they feel understood. Trust. Yep. What else? Anything else, guys? Find the pain. Hold them in it. So the things that you're saying are very true, guys, but they're true from a sales point of view. I'm talking just on a human-to-human level. Let's take selling out of the equation. You're sitting down with someone for an hour, and you have the intention during that hour of wanting that person to want to spend more time with you. To be heard is definitely one. If you sit down with someone for an hour and you don't feel like they're even listening, you're not going to want to sit down for another hour. Common ground, that's an interesting one, Ian. Energy. What do you mean by energy, Timo? All right, let's dive into some of these. So number one, and this is not in order, guys. First thing, not in order, but let's start with one thing that you need someone to realize is that you are more competent at helping them solve the challenge that they have as far as the thought process to the challenge than they would be if they didn't have you in their corner. I'm going to say that again. I'll say it in different words. In other words, by the end of the call, whether they buy right now or they don't buy right now, they should be in a state where they're like, wow, this person is so crystal clear, so competent, so much of an expert that I would be foolish to continue my path of solving this challenge in my life, whatever area that is, without them in my corner. Does that make sense, guys? Yes. Let's look at the opposite of that, the polar opposite of that. You hop on a call for an hour with someone, and by the end of the call, not only do they feel like they have less clarity on what the problem is, the severity of the problem, and how to solve the problem, but they also feel like they just wasted an hour of their time. In other words, they're looking at that hour that they just spent, and they're thinking, I am no better off than I was before the hour, apart from I just had an hour-long conversation about them asking me questions and me now being told what they've got going on over there. What is the likelihood that they are going to then text you or email you or buy on the first call and be the ones chasing you? It is a big fat zero. There is no reality where someone is going to be chasing you back down if at the end of the call they've realized they've wasted an hour of their time to answer a bunch of fucking questions and still be like, I'm trying to be sold here, but I don't really know what the problem is or why it's the problem or the deep reason they're in that shit that they're in, which is, as we've discussed many times, they're not showing up in the right way to be able to execute on the actions that are going to solve the problem for them. Okay, so that's number one. Let's look at number two. Number two, they want to have a perception of you, which is this person is very unattached, very non-needy with the outcome of this call. In other words, they're such an expert, so that's point number one, they're such an expert that I feel better that I've had the conversation with them, or I'm in a better place having had the conversation, but they don't need anything from me. The closer doesn't need anything from me as the prospect. Does that make sense? Yep. So you've got the end of the call, whether they buy or not, they realize that they're better with you in their corner than without. But they also realize you don't need them. Because let's think of the opposite of those two. you're an expert and you've demonstrated you're an expert, but they also feel that you want something from them. Your expertise, or their perception of your expertise, is now null and void. In other words, it's just been erased because they now perceive your expertise through the lens of being taken for something, having them manipulated or having them lose something in order to gain something. In other words, okay, I can gain assistance with the solution, but I'm going to lose something by actually asking or stepping forward into, transactional, into that assistance. So we have to show that we're better to be in their corner than without, but also show that I'm just here to help you. Whatever you want to do with it is up to you. Okay? At this moment, let's take a pause for a second and think about how many of you have screwed up one of those two things. You wanted the money, or you didn't fully demonstrate your expertise. Okay? Take a moment to think, have you screwed up any of those things? And then what is the 1 hour long first impression of you at the end of a 1 hour call when you then go ahead and text and email and phone call the person that didn't buy? What are they going to be viewing you as? Pathetic, a loser, desperate, not an expert, just someone that is just seeing them as a number on a screen, another lead, someone to get commission from. Okay? Let's go a couple of layers deeper into demonstrating the expertise. Okay? There's a few things that you're going to screw up on a sales call which are going to not demonstrate expertise. We won't go through everything that you can do because that's further into the training that we do on the role plays and inside the mastermind, but let's just break down a couple of very simple ones. The first thing that you can do that demonstrates a lack of expertise is not being complete or thorough, covering everything in the discovery. This usually looks like we gather some data, some numbers, but we don't actually have the full picture. Now, you got to remember, the prospect is the one living that picture. So whether conscious or unconscious, they are 100% aware that you missed something or a number of things. You may not even be aware of it. You just didn't demonstrate expertise by asking more questions, by really thinking about the whole problem. But the prospect is absolutely going to know that you are not an expert because you missed things. Okay, so let's then play this out to the moment of follow-up. If you don't miss anything, whether they buy at the end of the call, their perception of you when you go to follow up with them is, wow, they covered everything. Like they literally left no stone left unturned. Their perception of you is completely different. Okay? Let's look at another thing that you can screw up in the discovery. So we've gathered all of the data, okay? And this is going to be a ruffle some feathers one. But at the end of the call, the prospect says some type of rationalization or excuse that despite the data being crystal clear to both you and the prospect, they're not going to buy. And at that moment, you back down. Oh, no worries, not at all. You don't have to do anything right now. We can book in a follow-up. At that moment, when they know the severity of their situation and you know the severity of their situation and you don't push for them to buy, how do they perceive you when you then text them and email them and call them? They perceive you as someone that was a fake strong person. A fake strong person. What do I mean by that? You didn't have the strength in the moment to push and challenge them to buy right now. But all of a sudden you have the strength to follow up with them and say, hey, what actions have you taken towards this goal that we talked about? Oh, nothing. Well, how's that going out for you? And all of a sudden, you're a fucking keyboard warrior. You have the confidence to say those things by text and by email, but when your commission was on the line and you don't want the prospect to view you as an asshole, in other words, your self-image was on the line, you didn't have the ballsack to do it then. But you all of a sudden have to have the courage to be chasing up with them a week later. Oh, how's things going? How distorted and incongruent do you think the prospect's perception of you is then? You didn't have the courage to challenge them on the call, but you're all of a sudden following up with them and trying to challenge them through a keyboard. Oh, you haven't done anything. Oh, well, how much longer are you not going to do anything? And they're like, what? You didn't give a fuck when I said some stupid bullshit excuse that I'm not going to buy right now on the phone. Do you see how bad the prospect's perception of you is going to be then. You're better to challenge the prospect and try challenging them to buy right now whilst being detached for their benefit. And at the very end, they still say, I just can't do it right now, or I won't do it right now, or whatever logistical thing. You say, okay, fine. You know that you've tried to get them over the line. But more importantly, they know that you tried to get them over the line. And if you try to get them over the line and they can actually feel that it's for their interest, even if you're pushing pretty hard, when you text them or when you follow up with them, which I don't recommend, by the way, but just as a middle ground example, they're still going to now perceive you as, you know what, they really did try and push me to do this right now, and they're still going for it. They're like, wow, this person actually might give a fuck. Even better than that, though, they're not going to need you to text them or email them because of the thing that we're going to do here at the end of this rant. But the prerequisite for what I'm about to show you is that they actually saw that you were willing to challenge them, and they're still thinking about you now as an expert. An expert in terms of your skill and your competence of sales and question asking ability, but also an expert in terms of the internal mastery that you're able and willing to push and to challenge and to hold the ground and hold the space for the prospect. Is this making sense, guys? Yep. Okay, good. So when you're doing your follow-ups and you're wondering why it's so ineffective, this is why. But it's twice as powerful than just the conversation of follow-up. Because if you actually do the things that I'm telling you, you will get more one-call closes as well. So the very thing that is going to fix you needing to follow up would inevitably mean that the few scragglers that don't buy on the call, you also don't need to follow up. Let's take a little detour right now and look at things from the perspective of a sales manager or the perspective of an offer owner. Because you might be thinking, well, fuck, my offer owner or my sales manager is telling me I have to follow up. So what do I do? Any of you wondering that right now? Is Josh saying don't follow up? Well, what about my sales manager? They're telling me I have to send a fucking text to everybody. The reason the sales manager and the reason the offer owner is telling you that you have to text and you have to email everybody is because they know that you're not doing the things that I'm telling you to do. If they actually had absolute confidence in you having the scriptless selling skill set and the internal mastery development that you know what to say, how to say it, and you actually say it to the prospects throughout the call and at the end of the call, challenging them, holding them to a position of ownership, not backing down, not giving a fuck about your commission, just this is what's right for you and I'm going to keep pushing until we literally cannot go any further. Your sales manager and your offer owner know you're not doing that. And so in their mind, they're like, well, I can't really trust the closer is doing everything. So I'm going to put an SOP in place, a standard operating procedure, logistics, that hopefully will get a few extra people through the door. If you don't want to be micromanaged, if you don't want to be doing the follow-up, you have to fix the things that I'm talking to you about to a point where it is literally 100% of the time that you are being thorough and professional in your discovery, gathering all the data, and you've developed the internal mastery that you are pushing people. Pushing people not from a place of pushiness, not from a place of attachment, but that you're not willing to get off the call until they are aware that you have tried to close them because it's right for them, and they are being their own worst enemy and they just refuse to get out the way. And the prospect will feel that. They'll know, fuck, like I'm being the idiot here. I, the prospect. They'll know that. That's why I never got told by UM or any offer that I ever closed on, you need to start sending texts and emails. Because the people that were running the offers, UM, different companies I've closed for, they knew, and they've listened to my calls. Fuck, there's nothing that Josh dropped the ball on. He gathered all the data and he just wouldn't get off the phone until the prospect was like, I'm just being a fucking pussy. Okay, are you going to continue being a pussy? Honestly, yes, I am. Okay, fine then. You continue being a pussy and you know exactly where you're going to be. There's literally nothing more I can do. And I never got told I have to follow up. because I was closing the deals that were going to close and doing everything I possibly could, that if someone was going to come back on a follow-up, they were going to do it themselves. Okay? Let's talk about the final piece that ties this all together as far as demonstrating your expertise and demonstrating that you care. And that is how you let the call down. This is like landing the plane, so to speak. If you land the plane by just booking in a follow-up or just agreeing that, they'll get back to you in 24 hours or 48 hours and that's it, you just get a tiny little bit of agreement or none at all. If you land the plane like that, that final opinion of you, that final perception of you from the prospect is the one that stays in their brain. Oh, the closer got to the end of the call, they got fed up, they got frustrated, they were in a rush, or they didn't want to just keep challenging me regarding the follow-up. And now their final perception of you is the same as I was saying before, that you're a loser, you're weak, you don't care enough, and you're not an expert. What is the alternative? I've demonstrated this on role plays with you guys before. I'm going to do a brief example of it again. I think it was on the last live training. This is when at the end of the call, someone is saying, I need blank amount of time. And you keep asking questions around the logistics. Okay, why that amount of time? What exactly are you going to do during that time? Have you ever done that before? How did that go? Okay, so what do you think the outcome is going to be for you spending 12 hours doing that? Okay, got it. And at the end of those 12 hours, if you get to conclusion A, you're not going to do anything. Then what happens? Okay, are you okay with that? Okay, what about conclusion B? You get to the end of your thinking, whatever they say they're going to do, looking at their bank account, whatever the bullshit is. And at the end of that, they say, if I get to a point where everything's clear, I'm ready to go. They say I'm ready to go, and most closers will just say, okay, excellent, I'll see you on Tuesday, or I'll look out for a text from you. No. What do you mean you'll be ready to go? Oh, I'll be ready to enroll. When? Oh, like pretty soon after that. Pretty soon? Well, and you keep going, guys. You keep on going until they say to you 3 times in a row, if I do my thinking for the next 12 hours and I'm clear that this is the right thing for me, I am going to give you my credit card details on the phone or by text or whatever you agree on. And even then you say, okay, 100%? Yes, 100%. Why? And you keep going, guys. And I've shown you this in the discovery as far as layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of questions. And you always comment and go, fuck, I thought we were done. And he's still going. It's the same thing how you let the plane down, guys. You cannot just let the prospect get off the call without an absolute commitment and 3 tie downs of the commitment to what's going to happen next. Okay, so we get to a point, you've done your research, you've done this, you've done whatever, and you're clear that this is the right thing for you. So at that point, what happens? And by the way, don't tell them what happens. Don't say, at that point, you're going to text me, blah, blah, blah. No, at that point, what happens? Oh, I don't know, I'll get back to you. How will you get back to me? I don't know. How should I? Well, you could text me. Yeah, I can text you. Okay, so you will text me? Yes. Okay, when? And we're going around again. We're landing the plane perfectly. So it is 4 wheels or 3 wheels if it was an airplane, nose and 2 on the wings, on the ground. 100% on the ground. There's no, what's called in flying touch and go, which means the plane hits the runway and then it's like, actually, we're going to take back off again. You don't want any of that. It's the plane is coming down to land and it is staying grounded. If you don't do all of this, guys, at the end, even if you'd run a great discovery and you'd gone really deep and you'd got all the data and you'd challenged the prospects, at the very end of the call, not their first impression of you, but their last impression of you is, oh, they didn't really demonstrate any expertise or challenging at the end of the call. So how is their final impression of you? Same thing again. You're not serious. You're not an expert. They don't need you in their corner. They don't have any interest to text you or to call you. And when you text them and you call them, they just are like, oh, that dickhead again. Fuck, the guy that just got off the end of the call and didn't really make me commit to anything. You have a job to be an expert. You have a job to be a leader and show them that you're going to get them to commit one way or another. Commit that they're okay, they're perfectly fine with continuing to be in this situation, or commit to the absolute specific next steps with multiple tie downs that are going to take place. If you do all of these things that we've spoken about for the last 20 minutes, you're going to have two outcomes. You won't need to follow up because you'll actually get more one call closes that will be probably 90% of the people that currently you're doing follow-up with. So let's say every month you have 10 people that you're following up with. You'll now have 1. 9 out of 10 of those are just actually going to buy on the call now because you did the right things in the discovery. The 1, so you've got a 90% reduction in your pipeline leads that you're having to manage and follow up with. The 1 that is left is going to text you, is going to email you. Why? Because you agreed to that with the prospect. When are you going to email me? What are you going to say in the email? Oh, I don't know. I'll let you know how I feel. What do you mean how you feel? And you have to keep going. And you have to get them to a point where they agree that they're going to email you with a definitive decision. And that definitive decision is, hey, Josh, I've decided I'm too much of a fucking pussy to enroll in the econ program and actually get my wife out of her shit nursing job where I know that she's struggling emotionally. She's about to fall into depression. She wants kids of me. She's probably going to divorce me if I don't fucking do this. I've decided I'm too much of a fucking pussy to do that, and I accept that. You're going to put that shit in a fucking email, bitch. Or you're going to email me and say, I've realized, having spent 24 hours watching my wife look at me like a fucking loser, that I probably should have bought on the first call, but I'm absolutely ready now. And by ready now, I mean, we don't even have to hop on a phone call. You're going to send me a payment link and I'm going to buy on the payment link and we'll be done with it. None of this bullshit about, oh, I'll just let you know how I feel. That's not good enough. You have to get to the end of the road, guys, an absolute definitive conclusion. And as I demonstrated there, I don't care which one it is. I don't care if you tell me you're enrolling. I don't care if you tell me you're not enrolling. What I give a shit about is you tell yourself the truth. I choose to continue being in this dog shit situation and making all the people around me suffer, or I choose not to. And I don't need you to hold my fucking hand on another phone call, taking time away from someone else that didn't need 24 hours to rationalize. I'm just going to get you to send me the payment link and I'll get enrolled immediately. Let's demonstrate the payment link. Prospect says that they're going to send you that they agree that you send them a payment link and they enroll. Some of you would stop there. When I send you the payment link and you open the email, how long is it going to take you to finalize the investment? Would you have asked that question? Of course you wouldn't, guys. You wouldn't even think about asking that. You think, oh, I've done pretty well. I got like 90% of the way through what Josh told me to do. I got the prospect to agree that I'll send them a payment link. We don't need to have another phone call. It's not enough, guys, because you're still missing things. You're still leaving stones left unturned. And subconsciously, the prospect knows that they've got a little slithery gap that they can worm through. And when they see that your lack of professionalism, your lack of being sharp as a tack, your lack of clarity, your lack of vision, your lack of understanding how slippery people can be with their own rationalizations, they now perceive you subconsciously, much more likely than consciously, as not being worth having in their corner. Oh, Josh said I can agree to, he'll send me the payment link. Well, I could get the link and spend fucking 7 days not clicking the link. You didn't think about that, did you guys? Okay, I'll send you the payment link. When you open the email, how long are you going to take to get enrolled? I don't know, 24 hours. 24 hours? Why is it going to take you so long? Listen, man, if it's going to take you 24 hours from the point that you've already spent 24 hours to deliberate over something that you've been deliberating on for 3 years, probably you're not committed enough to actually doing this. So I don't need to send you the payment link. I'm still challenging the prospect for their best interest. If they tell me it's going to take them 24 hours to click a fucking link and put in 25 digits, still bullshit. I'm not accepting their bullshit because I don't want them to accept their bullshit. How about we do this? We can either agree that if you get to the point, and you don't have to get to the point where you want to agree to enroll, but if you do get to that point and you say, you know what, I've realized I need to do this, I'm going to send you the link. When you open that email, which you're going to have time to open that email at some point within a 12-hour period, you are going to spend no more than 15 minutes taking action on that link. Would you have done this, by the way, guys? Hey, Mr. Prospect, why do you think I'm asking you to do that? Would you have told them to think about why you're telling them to do that? Prospect says, I don't know, probably because I've been thinking about this for 3 years and procrastinating and delaying. Yeah. So how do you think I should challenge you to make a decision one way or another that's going to best serve you? Well, I think probably you should give me a time limit. Why? Well, because if I don't have a time limit, I'll probably fall back to my old behavior. Do you want me to allow you to do that? No. You see how I'm putting it back on the prospect, challenging them, being a leader. You do all of this shit, guys, and probably at that point, they might go, you know what, Josh? I don't need 12 hours to think about it. Let's just do it now. All right, cool. You sure? Yeah? Why? What changed? Well, now you're actually showing me how I even need to commit to the fucking thinking process. I'm realizing I'm just being a pussy. Oh, really? That's interesting. So what do you want to do? Still detached. What do you want to do? I want to do it now. When is now? Like, can we do it right now on the call? I can. Can you? Yeah, I can. Can you? Yes. Okay, cool. Still playing ping pong, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Questions. Some people won't say that. They'll then turn around and say, okay, got it. Yeah, I'm going to take my 12 hours. Okay, and when you take your 12 hours, what's happening then? And you get them to repeat back to you the plan. Well, I'm going to spend 12 hours. I'm going to sit down with my wife. I'm going to write everything down. I'm going to do this. And then what? Then I'm going to get to a definitive conclusion. What are your two options? Well, I either have to agree that I'm going to continue suffering like a little pig, or I'm going to agree to doing something. And then what happens if you agree to suffering like a little loser? Well, I guess I'm agreeing to continue living my life like this. Okay, cool. At least we're on the same page and you're telling yourself the truth. No worries. What about if you agree to do it? Well, then we've agreed you're going to send me a payment link. I'm going to click that link within 12 hours, and within 15 minutes of clicking the link, I'm going to buy this shit. Beautiful. Excellent talking to you, brother. See you on the other side. Done. Now, let's finish this with going up in the air a little bit into some spiritual stuff, because you guys all understand the importance of this. What happens when you do that, all of what I just demonstrated, to the people that were requesting a follow-up, in regards to what happens to your next leads? You get more of the other leads turn up. You get more of the other leads actually open up. You get more of the other leads actually become a one-call close. So you build this momentum, this power that I don't think any of you currently even can fathom the power that you have when you're actually demonstrating leadership. It is like a cyclone that is just pulling you up to the heights of the best version of your existence that you can possibly imagine. Everything just starts working for you. So if you want to continue being a little loser that does your normal follow-up, continue accepting more no-shows. Continue accepting more prospects that don't want to open up to you. They may not know literally how you backed down and turned into a little simp with the previous prospect that you weren't willing to challenge on the follow-up. But the universe knows, and the universe is going to send you more bad prospects. Because everything is connected. The all-seeing eye sees everything, guys. So there you go. Rant done. I think you got the message.